Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and I flippin' love Splatoon Raiders, but I'm not the only person who does. Look who it is. Say hello, Jim.
Hello, Jim. I also love Splatoon Raiders. It's so good. It's so good.
Oh, God, it really is. It really is. No doubt you've already seen, we've done a review. That's all formal and everything like that. Go and watch that first. And if you're really keen to get the game and you're particularly, sort of sensitive to spoilers, we're not going to be doing anything major in this video. But I would say if you really want to experience everything firsthand for yourself, then maybe come back, sort of once you've completed the game, because then you'll be free to go. But as I say, we're not going to do anything major. Just want to give you a heads up because, Jim, oh my god, I don't want to go into specifics, but obviously, whenever we do a review, there are things we can talk about, things we can't talk about. And it turns out the things we can't talk about was about, I don't know, maybe 50-60% of the game.
Yeah.
At least when it comes to specifics.
There's so much stuff here. This game, and you mentioned it in your review quite rightly, but I know that we were talking in the review period. There is so much bang for your buck with this game. What started off, and if the good viewers go back and watch our very early initial impressions that we recorded when that first proper trailer dropped for it, we were saying, "Oh, it looks a lot like Salmon Run, doesn't it? Oh, I hope that it's not just Salmon Run again." And I think that the genius part of it, and probably the biggest surprise for me, is that it is Salmon Run again, and it is single-player Splatoon 3, but it feels like so much more. They have really done a lot to spice this up, haven't they?
They really have. It almost feels like, because I think the thing, Salmon Run in Splatoon 2 and 3 was always very claustrophobic, and you still get that to a degree in Splatoon Raiders, generally in the earlier stages of the game. But as you go on, even the tight arenas that you still end up in, which are much more reminiscent of typical Salmon Run, your movement options are so much more varied. You can just, get the treasure bot, is that it? I forget what it's called.
Exploration bot.
One of them. You can just bounce off the top of that sod, sort of jump up in the air, slowly float down. You've got about, God knows how many gadgets that will do something similar as well, like the burst bomb, jump bomb. Yeah, you just use that, just poof, you're up in the air and stuff like that. So you've got so many options of getting around. You've also got things like the special tank abilities, and if you use the speed one, you just go down, hide in the ink for a bit, and then you pop out and you can go back in again. You just carve your own path. It's phenomenal. It makes you feel so ludicrously powerful, and that's before we even get on to upgrading the gadgets, which is a whole game in and of itself. I mentioned briefly in one of the things that I wrote for the site about how I think I spent longer going through those gadget menus with a fine-tooth comb than I actually did using them. There is so much customization to play with here, and it feels like it really makes a difference as well. You can die on a run and die again, so you go out and you swap a gadget part over. Maybe you change your tank, maybe you upgrade a different skill that you hadn't upgraded before, move some points around into different areas, and then you can go back again and you feel the difference immediately. My fatal flaw is that once I find a plan that works with any kind of roguelike, or indeed with the mainline Splatoon games, once I find my weapon and I find my sub-weapons in those games, I'm a sucker for sticking with them and not experimenting very much. This game forces you to experiment. It does. So it means that you might do most of your run with the speed tank, but then you go, but I really want to try some of these gadgets from the tactical. Let me switch to that. And then you find a new technique, and you do the same for power. You do the same for different gadgets, for different weapons. Well, that happened with you, wasn't it? You basically didn't touch tactical for the longest time. And yet me, when I was playing through, tactical was my go-to. It's I want those shot pots, I want, sort of the five finger beam. This is the problem when you just look at the image and you go, yeah, that. I've not needed to learn the names of things because they're also visually unique, despite the fact that... Sorry?
I want to say high fiver.
That sounds about right, yeah. The thing is that you and I have been through all the blooming gadgets recently, weren't we, for an article on Nintendo Life. We were looking through all the gadget parts and we were compiling everything that we've got, and we were like, oh, we're fairly certain that despite the fact that between us we've probably got 60, 70
not
hours
more,
of
yeah.
gameplay. We still have not got all the blimmin' gadget parts. Like, I don't want to like start throwing a number out, but honestly, when it came to writing the review, I was like, oh, you know, sort of people are going to want to know sort of like how long the game takes to complete, and it's like, well, it kind of depends how you play the game, because you can just like do the minimum number of levels and probably roll credits in, I don't know, probably less than 10 hours quite easily. And if you want to say that's complete, then that's complete. But if you know, go and you do the extra missions, you do all the side stuff, you then do all the spicy raids as well, which I haven't even done most of the spicy raids, let alone the, okay, spoiler alert, so you can just, you know, sort of turn the mute down, we'll wave our hands when we're done. Super spicy raids, which is basically where you can go back and do all the raids that you've done before, and they are just ludicrously hard all of a sudden.
They're nasty.
They are brilliant. I love them. But let's finish talking about that. Let's wave to the lovely people. Spoilers over. It's all good now. Yeah, it's absolutely ludicrous. And the fact that there's, I swear I just keep unlocking stuff. I keep unlocking stuff. And I don't think I've been, you know, sort of disappointed by any of it. Because when I first started playing, when I saw things like the way that they changed the fly fish, for example, that you can now just shoot the body, and it's like part of the reason that fly fish was so utterly loathed was the fact that you had to throw splat bombs into their bins when they were open, and they were also just a nuisance because you wouldn't necessarily know they'd spawn, and they just go with their irritating little bloody missiles. So the fact that you can just shoot the central thing makes them a lot easier, makes them feel like less of a threat. But they still spawn without you realizing it, and they still go. It's a change. I understand why they've done it, because it doesn't work with the new gadget system, as I mentioned in the review. But it's definitely something that I've warmed to over time. My initial response was sort of, oh, but I like things as they were. But I've grown and matured since then.
Yeah, I find that with a lot of things in the game. There were quite a few, like even bigger things than salmonids themselves. Things a bit like the gadgets instead of the sub-weapons. Things like the exploration bot as well, that I was slightly mixed on to start with. I thought, oh, this isn't Splatoon. This isn't the Splatoon that I know. But now, and I said this in my second opinion, which you can read in on the review on the site, I think that the exploration bot is for Splatoon, a bit like what Ochi was for Pikmin, in that I thought at the start this is gonna break the game for me. This is gonna change how I like playing Splatoon. But now I can't imagine playing Splatoon without it. I think that if I was to go back to Splatoon 3 now and hop into a Turf War game or hop into Salmon Run if I wanted to get even closer, I think I'm gonna struggle not having my bot buddy there with me to help me in combat situations, but more importantly, help me get out of there as well. Because by God, in those later levels, is having the bot hop nearby a useful tool to use.
It so is. When I first saw it, I mentioned this in the review, but I'm going to reiterate the point because I think it's relevant. When I saw it in the direct and stuff like that, I was like, jumping up high, okay, whatever. I don't really see that being a big deal, and to begin with I didn't use it a lot, but then I thought, well, let's just see, you know, sort of, and there were certain instances where I was like, I need some help, and you call the bot over, and then you know, sort of you bounce up and it's like, oh, I'm safe to a degree. You are safe to a degree. You can still be absolutely sniped by usually stingers, but it is so useful. And when you do the sampler dungeons, which is when you're just given like a gadget, maybe a weapon, usually not, you're stripped. You don't have the exploration bot at all, and you do sort of feel a bit like you've lost a limb. It's going to be interesting to go back to Splatoon 3 and see what it's like to try and play without. I mean, obviously you couldn't really have it in multiplayer. Oh, imagine if you could, though. Everyone has their own little exploration bot that has like a cooldown and stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, they might be able to incorporate some of the ideas like jumping up high. That would be interesting in Splatoon, like normal like turf war and stuff like that, because being up high is not always an advantage against other players, because then they know where you are. Not the same thing with Salmon Run or, Raiders, because the Salmonids know where you are regardless. And that's another thing that the bot's great at, drawing some of their blinking attention away, so you haven't got, honestly, sometimes like 100 enemies all just charging towards you. You've got maybe 60 and 40 are going towards the bot. It's a huge blessed relief.
Absolutely. And I was thinking, as I was playing some of these later stages, I can't help but wonder what this would... If I had never played Splatoon before, and I was looking at that screen that I was on, that was my very first impression of the game. It's like mind-meltingly confusing. There's so much going on. There's massive numbers on screen. There are huge enemies. There's you in the middle of it all, somehow managing to keep track of what's going on. You're going into ink, you're coming out, you're using gadgets, you're not using gadgets, you're hopping on a bot. There's so much happening, and it all holds up remarkably well as well. I don't think that this is as good looking as Splatoon 3, but it plays flawlessly.
Honestly, go back and look at Splatoon 3, and actually, it's very comparable, I would say. It's maybe a little bit prettier in places, but the main thing is the resolution. The resolution is noticeably higher. But I do know what you mean. I think part of it might be the art direction. Obviously, we only get essentially 3 biomes in the underground, which is not loads. It's perfectly suitable. And to be honest, you're battling through so many enemies. The environment becomes just background noise, visual background noise. That doesn't mean to say that I don't think, sort of that there could be more and it could be better if there was a little bit more variety in that sense. But at the same time, if they were making it to a budget or to get it out in time, if that's a sacrifice they made, I think it was a sensible one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and I am being picky when I start thinking about things that I don't like about it as much. The game does a good job of mixing up the gameplay loop every now and then. There are some smaller levels that we've spoken about in the run-up to release, which are so much fun. And
the Pudgeon Den.
The Pudgeon Den, if you know, you know.
We won't show it, but if you know, you know.
But you know. And they mix up the gameplay loop so wonderfully. I wish that there was a little bit more of them. Same with those kind of 3 major biomes that we're talking about. If there was something just to make them slightly different, an extra unique mechanic that comes with each, and something different than a different color palette on the ground, that might have helped, really push it into the next level. But also, there's so much game here, and it's not the kind of game that necessarily needs to be like a Super Mario Bros. Wonder, where every level is something mind-meltingly different and unlike anything that you've ever seen before, because the mechanics evolve in this as it goes on, right? And you have a much better understanding of how to play the game at the end than you do at the start. As you'll know, when you make it to the late game and you think, I'll just go back and clean up some of the stuff from the early levels, and you're playing them thinking, is this what the game used to be like? How I was struggling with these levels.
There are so few enemies, and of course you level up quite rapidly in the game, I would say. It seems to go with the flow of a standard playthrough, I would say. But the end result is that if you do have to go back, and I think I had after rolling credits, I had 2 levels I hadn't done or something like that. So I went back and did them, and it was just well, I'm completely over leveled, sort of, oh look, there's a thick cut salty tongue. Brr, oh, it's dead. Sort of something that before would have taken, 10 to 15 seconds of constant fire to take down, and you're just like, brr, oh, it's gone. It's
a hell of a way to feel good about yourself.
Yeah, it makes you feel incredible. It does mean that it makes me even more pleased that they have the spicy, sort of raids to go back to, because it means that you can go back to these old levels and be rewarded for it as well. You get, the enemy parts, things like the salty tongue bucket and stuff like that, which you absolutely are going to need way more of than you ever thought if you want to upgrade any weapons or any gear. Because you sort of think, wow, I'm getting loads of these things. Well, I've got 30 of this. Okay, I want to upgrade my weapon. I want to upgrade it 5 levels. What does that take? 30.
Yeah. It's a lot. And there is, and we won't go deep into them here, but there are even more reasons to keep playing the game as well. This, aside from all of those super spicy, extra difficult runs, this game if you're Splatoon sickos like us and you want to keep playing, you'll be able to keep playing. There's so much here to do.
Yeah, and we haven't even touched on the multiplayer. Because you and I, we played some of the multiplayer and we thought, hey, this is really cool, sort of when we were just playing through it. And then I was in the middle of writing the review and I was like, Jim, can we just double check what levels, sort of can be, sort of can or can't be played in multiplayer? And you said, I think, sort of these levels can't because it says can't call for help. And I was like, that's calling for help. Let's check multiplayer. So, we're not going to go into specifics, but we are going to talk about the final few levels before you roll credits. Not in any details or anything like that, but there's a few levels that you can do, and you can't call for help as you can in normal stages, but you can play them all in multiplayer. You can play the final stage, the final boss, just in multiplayer. The game's just like, yeah, sure. It's not even like it comes up and it says, it's not really designed for it, or, sort of it tries to sort of lock that part out or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, of course you can. What are you talking about? Yeah, just crack on, mate. Sort of, what are you worrying about? And the only levels that we've found that you cannot play in multiplayer, and we can't say this with 100% certainty just because we haven't gone through with a fine-tooth comb. So take this with a tiny little pinch of salt, but the only levels that we've discovered that you cannot play in multiplayer are the initial tutorial levels where it tells you how to play. Everything else, as far as we can tell, again, we've not been through with a fine-tooth comb, you can just play in multiplayer. So in theory, you can do the tutorial, join a friend, play through the whole game from start to finish in a single player game.
That right there is the most dangerous part about all of this, because I have put 35 plus 40 hours into this now, but I am itching now to team up with you, Alex, or team up with any of my other friends and play the whole game again with a pal, because I know that it would be so much fun to do so. It's one of those games that we've played some rounds together and they're so chaotic, they're such a laugh, but you also start, strategizing with each other. Like you say, I'm going to go and get the stinger over there, and I say, well, I'm going to get the smoker so that you can get the stinger easier. And all of this stuff is going on. Playing it with a group of 3 other pals, full 4-player. Come on, it would be good.
I mean, I'm only sad that we weren't able to try that during the review period, because we just, it's just a nature. It's lucky enough that we were able to do as much as we did in multiplayer. But, well, when you were saying about, sort of like playing from the beginning, a sort of quirk with the review process, I'm not going to go into details, but basically, I will have to play the game again now from the beginning if I want to keep going. It's just the way that it goes. Initially, I was quite disappointed by that. Now I'm absolutely thrilled because I just want to start it again. I mean, the game is endlessly replayable even in a completed save file. And yeah, I want to play it again from the beginning, because even though it's endlessly replayable, it's like, I want to do all those. I want to do it right from the start. I want to... It's so good. It's so good. And I was really torn when it came to the score. I'm not going to lie. As you know, Jim, but we discussed it internally, and in the end, ended on a 9. But it came blooming close to getting 1 higher than that. That is how... Let me say, if we did 0.5s, I would very comfortably give it a 9.5. But we don't. So I had to stick to the rules. Stick to the rules that we have. But suffice it to say, if you even have a passing fancy in Splatoon, there's so much here for you to enjoy. So much. And I still can't get over the fact that you can play through the whole thing. The first single-player Splatoon game, which has probably the best single-player Splatoon's ever had.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I would say no, it does. It does. It does have the best single-player Splatoon has ever had. And the game just very casually is like, you can play it multiplayer if you like. The biggest challenge in that is finding out how to do it, because we actually struggled.
Yeah, it's a sneaky little sausage.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain the game did tell us when we were playing, but you get so much information thrown at you. A lot of the time, it's just sort of like, yeah, okay, I understand. I know Splatoon, let's crack on. I want to get to the next stage. But, yeah, it's strange that we had to look at the direct to find out how to play together online, because there's no menu option. You've got to interact with a radio. It's strange.
It is strange. It is strange. I said this in my preview, and after spending all of these hours with it, I'm more convinced of it now than I was when I'd only been with it for an hour or so. I think, and I'll see if you agree with me, Alex, that this is the perfect Splatoon game to start with. So if as Alex just said, you have a passing interest in Splatoon, you'll love it. I think that's absolutely true. But maybe also if you have struggled to get on with Splatoon a little bit before, I think that this is an interesting place to start, and I'll tell you for why. Going straight into, while the other mainline games, did have single player content and very good single player content at that, I think that it's an intimidating thing going into a game where the meat and potatoes of it are those turf wars, those salmon runs, and you're going into games full of people that know all the mechanics and know all the weapons and all the sub-weapons inside out. They know how to tackle all the enemies. You can do as much, you can do base inking. There's so much stuff that you can do if you are new to it, but it's still quite an intimidating prospect. This one, not only can you play through it with a friend who's there to give you advice if you need it, but even if you don't, it has such a good onboarding process of getting you used to the controls, showing you what all of these weapons and all of these gadgets do, and telling you how to use them against a huge variety of enemies. There are so many different salmonids in this. I think that if you have played through all of this, you will be more than comfortable going back and going into some online games afterwards, even if you are going to struggle, like we say, without your little robot companion or some of the gadgets, because they're so good.
They are. I'd really like to see some of the ideas of the gadgetry make their way to Splatoon 4. Obviously, in their current form,
possible. Yeah,
they're way too overpowered. But like the jump bomb, poof, going up high. It probably wouldn't. You shouldn't go as high as you do, and you shouldn't have the slow fall. Or maybe you should, because it puts you at a disadvantage. Or maybe I don't know. But it's something to think about, and it's exciting to do so. And it's interesting that you mentioned the sort of the idea of getting a friend involved even in the early stages. One does pontificate. If you have a friend who is level 50 and you want to speedrun the game from the beginning with no restrictions, you could just get the friend who's level 50 to come in and basically just blitz through for you, and you could get through to the end in, I don't know, not many, couple of hours, I would say.
No time.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there'll be speedrunners who'll, say, single player only, obviously, you mad thing, because otherwise it's too easy. But what an idea to be able to just, go online and just, absolutely plow through. Because have you gone back and played, like, the super early levels since hitting level 50?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's like I was saying earlier, it's a hell of a way to feel good about yourself, particularly when I've been bashing my head against some of those later levels for so long. It's nice to go back and kill a boss that, whooped me the first time around, kill it in 2 hits. It's quite nice to do that, It makes me feel good. It
does, yeah. And just to, sort of like go in with fully upgraded splatter lights and, be able to use like the tank surge for the swim? Or was it tank torrent? And you just use tank torrent, you just carve your way through, and every enemy's going to be down in a single hit. It's a massive power trip, but again, don't worry if you want a challenge. Like, I played the whole thing on Survivalist. Jim, you started in Raider,
I believe. Yeah, the normal mode, yeah.
Yes, and I did Survivalist, which is the hardest one. But even if you're new, there's a tourist mode, which is substantially easier. But again, another feather in the cap of multiplayer. If you're playing on one difficulty and you're like, I was on Survivalist, Jim was on Raider. Jim took Raider damage from Salmonids, because that's the main thing it changes, how much damage you receive from Salmonids. I took Survivalist damage. So we still had our difficulty specific to ourselves. There's so often, do a review and you sort of go, oh, well, it would have been nice if blank. It would have been nice if this quality of life feature, if they consider this. I don't think I've done a review where I've had so many instances where I thought, it would be nice, oh, they've done it. Well, but it would be, oh, they've done it. Oh, well, maybe, oh, they've done it. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Closing thoughts? Because we've already been glazing this thing for nearly 25 minutes.
Closing thoughts. I hate the smoker salmonids. And again, if you know, you know. I hate those guys. That's my closing thought.
I don't mind the smokers that much, to be honest. Although they are tricky. And just very quickly, I know this is not unique to Splatoon or anything like that, but obviously they're long and thin. So if they're looking at you, they're harder to hit than if you can catch them from the side. Just small thing that just makes such a big difference. And there's other salmonids that are a bit like that, but not many. The fly fish, for example, if you're too high up and at the side, you just can't shoot it. So you've got to be careful about positioning and stuff like that. There's so much here, so much that they've considered. And my closing thought is, I still hate the fly fish. Even though it's easier to defeat, I still hate the fly fish. But I love all the seasoned salmonids. Like, there's some stuff that we haven't mentioned in here and we haven't mentioned in the review just because I want there to be some surprises for people. But seriously, so good. It's so good. Do yourself a favor, cook yourself up a slice of Splatoon Raiders this weekend. No, tonight. Do it now. Because it's blinking cheap as well. Like, if you buy it from the eShop, it's 42 quid. Or some dollars, whatever. I'll have the number appear on screen for what it is in dollars. But you can get a physical. Physical games are good as well. You know, I've seen physicals go for the same price as digital. So I'm gonna buy that for myself on launch day. Even though I really don't need to. But
get
anyway,
the amiibo while you're there.
That's more money. I've just had to child.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are our thoughts. What do you think? Have you played Splatoon Raiders yet? Let us know with a comment down below what you think of the game, because it's good. Come on, it's good. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
Woo me.
I didn't do the proper outro, but I'm too hot to go back and do it. So subscribe.